aiming for the most immersive experience. Games try to make you forget you, losing yourself in the addictive loops of satisfying interactions. Unless there is something to be said about the medium itself, then the storyteller doesn't want you to forget that all your delight and distress are caused only by the silly little thing called a video game. Metaphysics is a brand of philosophy that examines the fundamental nature of reality and existence. So what we might call metaphysical, or as an abbreviation, meta in video games, is a self-referential narrative, a story about its own medium, a game about the game. The most common example of being meta is breaking the fourth wall. This refers to how in theater and live audience television the set contains only the back wall and either side, with the fourth wall being imagined between the play and its audience. In games, this illusory wall is the screen in between, and it's broken whenever a character addresses the player, notices a tutorial meant only for the player, or simply senses the presence of some higher power being in control.
Truth was a burning green crack through my brain, weapon statistics hanging in the air glimpsed out of the corner of my eye. Endless repetition of the act of shooting, time slowing down to show off my moves, the paranoid feel of someone controlling my every step. I was in a computer game. Funny as hell, it was the most horrible thing I could think of.
But why? Why horrible? Because of its implication for the debate on free will. Casual breaking of the fourth wall is the most lazy way to be meta, and it's usually done just for an easy giggle. The metaphysical awakening of Max Payne, however, ties in with the predeterministic message of the game. Life is just a linear sequence of scares. Take it or leave it is the only choice given. The very first thing shown in the game is the unchangeable ending, because that's what it's all about. Whether he knows it or not, that's where Max is headed. There is this quote attributed to psychiatrist Carl Jung: "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Max is a very intelligent and observant guy, but he has no interest in searching his own soul. He is okay with calling it fate, because that way he doesn't have to take responsibility of his own miserable being and questionable doings. Because you know it's a video game with only one predetermined storyline, you are fine with all the despair and destruction you are causing. You are ready to observe and condemn what Max is doing, but you have no interest in searching your own soul. Alan Wake takes this even further, but with less wall breaking and more depth making. It is a real writing by a real writer about a fictional writer writing a fictional writing, altering his reality, which as our fiction works as an analogy for our reality and the reality-bending powers of the original real writer. The meta elements are not just funny gags on the surface. The whole game has been built to be that way. Well done, Sam. Well done. So, there is this one basic element that makes a narrative metaphysical. The acknowledgement of a higher dimensional puppet master. Whether we are called the players, the way we see ourselves, or more appropriately, the way we are seen by the beings in the game. As gods. NieR Automata is one of the most profound video game narratives ever achieved. It is well justified to be told in a video game because it's all about the interaction between the parallel universes of reality and virtuality that is the fundamental basis of gaming. On the surface, it has all the usual characteristics of a metaphysical narrative. The fourth wall is brought down every time you just manage to build it up again. And not only in gameplay, but in option menus and even loading screens, acknowledging the whole game with all of its elements and mechanics as the natural reality of video game characters. Yet, having all these traits on the surface, the actual meta-narrative of the game is not told by obvious means, but as a subtext throughout the whole game.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
This is the ingenious opening line of the game, and it gets different meanings on subsequent playthroughs. It's about one of the main characters as an artificial intelligence in a disposable android body, thinking about its creators, the Council of Humanity. But it can also be read as a video game character thinking about its developers and the nature of its existence in a self-repeating program. And after an opener like this, it becomes very hard to shake off the feeling that we are playing with sentient beings. Rewarding and therefore encouraging experimental gameplay with unlockable achievements or different endings keeps you constantly perceiving the game as a game. It doesn't make sense inside the game's reality for the character to suddenly kill itself without a sensible reason. But these are the immoral things you are willing to do only in order to see the mechanical consequences on this digital interactive piece of a software as a consumer product developed for your amusement. You monster. Here's the most commendable merit of the game. Even though it is self-aware about its form of existence as a video game, after it has encouraged the player to see it as such, it still manages to make us care for the characters as if their fates were real when we are specifically demonstrated they are not. And it even makes fun of us for letting ourselves care. This is possible precisely because of the characters being video game characters in our control, contemplating their role and free will in the hands of the gods responsible for their actions and existence. What further strengthens this connection is their relatable struggles in this believable setting having as real of an impact on them as the game is fulfilling and meaningful for the player. Having played all these games about games, what do they end up saying about their medium? Gaming in general. It's obvious for these meta-narratives to focus on the cyclic nature of repeating playthroughs. And it comes natural to then derive a message on determinism from these cycles. But video games are interactive in their basic nature, and the more there is interactivity on every level of gameplay, the more they are games by definition. So what if the playthrough wasn't fixed? What if there isn't a cycle? If a game includes the mechanic of New Game Plus, the subsequent playthroughs stop being just repeating cycles and become reincarnations. This is most clear in games when you, the player, are your own self-created character, keeping in reincarnation not only the previously gained knowledge and memories, but also all the attributes and equipment. This is saying that games need not or even should not be all that predeterministic, but that there might be a lot to be learned from past experiences. The more games give freedom for the players to follow their own mind, the more there is still to be said about free will. In the end, should there be more metaphysical narratives in video games? The medium surely is the most suitable for them. Where in printed or recorded form stories are always fixed, In games, we are in control of the story. So whether the game acknowledges this consciously in its narrative or not, there is no getting rid of the presence of a higher power pulling the strings. As a storytelling medium, as an artificial simulation of reality, video games are fundamentally metaphysical.